Welcome back to the LCS. It's week 8, day 2 of the race for playoffs. Still hotly contested, but our 8th place team, FlyQuest, is going to have to turn up the heat in their early game if they want to keep pace ahead of the likes of Golden Guardians and CLG.
Yeah, it's a tight one. There is one spot left in playoffs. Top 7, or we know where they're going. There's a fight between Dignitas and Immortals for top seed in the playoffs, but it's okay. Can FlyQuest hold on? Now, they do have a winning record with their current roster, right? They are 4-3 together, so they can kind of keep that going up. But C9, as we saw yesterday, have shaped up. So, like, hey, this is probably an L you're looking at here. Last point on the playoff that I'm going to talk about is that FlyQuest and Golden Guardians themselves play each other at the beginning of next week. That is going to be really, really telling. It would be great for FlyQuest if they can just get like a game bumper, because they're 2-2 right now. They lose that one, they lose head-to-head. They're tied in the standings. You're out of your, you're kind of out of your element.
And when we're looking at FlyQuest from a more holistic perspective, I think it was really good how they came in. They all played as a unit, right? But like we're seeing some of their early game numbers here. And we talked about the difference between being like a proactive team and an aggressive team. And I think FlyQuest are pretty aggressive in terms of how they want to set up for team fights, or they're re-engaging with TPs, or they're recognizing when someone has like a bad reset and they're like, okay, we can go in like here, right? But in terms of being proactive early, I still think they have a significant way to go. They don't set up their waves correctly a lot of the time for like to take first turret or to have really strong dragon control, even if they might have a bot side advantage. So it is these things that they need to work on in terms of their macro game if they do want to sneak into playoffs, because I think to your point, their closest competition, right? They're fighting Golden Guardians essentially for this spot, we're thinking. And I think these are things that Golden Guardians actually do really, really well. Like they are proactive early. We see them take the triple TP, so to try to set up those early game dives. So I think the early game is definitely where I want to see FlyQuest try to work on their macro games. I think it will help them exponentially as a team.
Quick note for those of you at home, as we have moved to the remote format for the teams themselves. Unfortunately, with that sometimes comes technical issues. We received word that there's a small issue with Fudge's PC, so they're working to swap that out in its entirety before we can dive into Champion Select. So just be aware of that. Means we have more time to talk about the matchup.
Yeah, and let's talk about Fudge and his PC.
Let's do it!
Let's make sure this man gets a good PC, because he's the most important player on C9 right now.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah, and I think he's been the MVP of this team. I think he should be a candidate for MVP of the split. I know the team itself is not at the top of the standings, but honestly, even when C9 was having issues with just being coordinated, when Perks wasn't looking super great mid, I think Fudge has looked the best he's actually ever had. He's one of the top laners in terms of CS differential at 15, and his team fighting is really immaculate. He constantly looks coordinated on these picks like Viego. He's constantly a threat to the backline. And honestly, I think if C9 had looked better over the course of the split, people would be saying that Fudge is an MVP candidate. Now that C9 is starting to get more coordinated, now that they look like they've sort of gotten a better read on the meta than they've had coming out of MSI, I think you'll start to see him really, really shine. And he's been doing this without getting too much jungle help as well.
So it's great to see Fudge playing better and continue to evolve as a player. But I think that leaves a lot of us, myself individually, thinking or wondering, then what the heck is going on with Cloud9? This is a spring champion team where Fudge at the time was not at his current level.
Yeah.
So where's the
the
breakdown,
championship,
right?
Like they got to the point where, and I forget if they crushed them. They didn't even regular season, right? Like it took them a while to get there. They only made finals to lock in, only finals, second place. But yeah, he leveled up over the course of the split. I think by week 6 he was like the second best top laner. I'm just saying, but
They're again bringing out the old.
just bring it up. But yeah, like. You go look at what happened in the finals, for example, right? In the mid-season showdown, it's 5 first bloods on Alfari. It's like, turns out Fudge is like, and I want to point this out real quick, like Fudge is, and we talk about players being human and being imperfect. Fudge is really, 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 really good at telling his team what he needs. Last week, when Vulcan got player of the game for the top lane dive, it was like, hey, I think we're getting Dove. Can you come up here, Phil? And he's like, yeah, sure. Oh, it's a double kill. And we're like, Vulcan's so good. It's like, nah, he just called him up and was like, hey, phone a friend. Can you show up? Yeah, sure, dog. MVP of the game. And it's like, that's Fudge talking, right? But like, and I know I've talked to you about this really briefly. Like, it's such a small thing, but most players are not great at this. It's a small thing to ask for help at the right times. Fudge is the best in the league at this.
Fudge is also really like cognizant. If you ever hear an interview with him, he's always really cognizant of like his wave state. Like he's constantly talking and brings up in interviews about like, we're trying to sync up waves. Like, I'm really trying to communicate like when my jungler can come topside on the wave. And this is where I want to bring up what I think has been slightly lackluster about C9, and it's their lane to jungle communication with Blabber, because I think Blabber was visibly more comfortable in this really super fast clear meta, and we had the Udyr, we had the Hecarim in spring, and now he seems to have, like, since MSI, kind of lost some of that really strong communication he had with his lanes, right? Like, to your point, in finals, like, they were constantly calling him topside because Fudge gets the wave in a point where Alphari has to push it in, or his entire lane's gonna be screwed, right? So then Blabber's up there, and then they're just killing Alphari over and over again because they know that their synergy is going to be significantly better than Alphari with Armeo, because Armeo just hadn't had that much practice with the team yet. And so when I'm looking at what is, like, quote unquote going wrong for this team, and it comes down to like minute communication between Blabber and the rest of the team. And I'm not blaming Blabber specifically for this either. I don't know what the communication is like, right? Because I am not on the team. But I think some of these plays where you see them like overreaching, and then the Scuttle Crab meme comes out. So it's like, why are we fighting over Scuttle down here, 5-5 in the river, you know? And like, we can joke about it, but that is a team communication thing. And we've seen some disconnect in terms of what they want to do. So that's the main thing that I would like them to shore up, is early jungle to lane communication.
Yeah, and when it comes to C9 and their fall chooses split, I still give them a pass, right? Like, they came from MSI, right? They had to adjust to the new patch. Then they swapped out Sven for King, right? Then they swapped Sven back in, right? So had to get readjusted there. Individual players have not been stepping up at the same time. I think now, more recently, they did beat 100 Thieves, right? That was a game that wasn't super convincing. It felt like 100 Thieves. You know, there are a lot of mistakes that they made mid-game. But at the end of the day, I do think that C9 has started to remind us of what they were in Spring Split. And I think that once we get on the same page in terms of communication, you know, particularly with Blabber and his lanes, I think you'll start to see a lot of the issues get resolved.
Let me press you on that. It's week 8.
It's week 8.
You think this is a championship-winning team?
I think they will become playoffs.
Okay.
And
they're on the trajectory
they're
that
on the
suggests.
trajectory, yeah. And I think one of the things that C9 does is they do experiment, and they try a lot of different styles over the course of the regular season. Because for them, speaking honestly, they can focus on playoffs and not worry too much about regular season. You know, so I think if you're thinking from the perspective of, is this a team that is at peak now? No. Are they preparing so they can peak when it's most important? I do think so.
All right, and that's the championship mindset right there. Is the idea of peaking.
Yeah.
You got something to throw in?
Yeah, little, you know, minor context stats. Looking at Cloud9's win rate with King versus it with Sven right now. Yeah, they were, like, you know, -1. They're 4-5 with King. Sven is, I think, 8-5.
Okay.
Which is, like, not amazing, but it's a pretty good win rate. It would still actually put them in the same spot in the standings. So if you extrapolate out, they'd go from 12 wins to 14 wins.
Right.
Right, like, you assume like 1 or 2 of those games get turned around because they win more as Sven, and it's like, well, that's still behind TSM's win count, right? So it's like, now of course, that's with Sven not being impacted the whole time, right? Like, there's other things here. There's an asterisk that is clearly very relevant, but it's like, hey, even if all you did was just like play those games out with the other roster and you assume the results are going to be somewhat similar, it's like, well, actually, they're still only performing the 4th best team, even with the current starting roster, the 4th best team. So it's like, we do need to see the rest of that level up. For example, the Golden Guardians game yesterday, that looked good, right? It felt like things were going around in the right places, but I mean, how good of an opponent is Golden Guardians? Like, was it just a couple lucky weeks? Like, are you really that confident about a win like this?
Golden Guardians right now looking pretty good.
I know, but now that they've lost 2 straight, right? It's like, oh, here's a 2-1. Here's a 2-1. Oh, it's a 0-2. Oh, well, now we're a 4-4 team. It's like, well, so are Immortals, right? Immortals are also a 50-50 team. It's like, well, would you be that excited about Cloud9 beating Immortals? Not really. It's like, well, that's the quality of opponent, right? So I need to see this one. FlyQuest are also in that kind of spot where it's like, yeah, they're 4-3 with this roster.
An
it's
expected victory for Cloud9
you know,
here.
right? Like, you're better than these teams, so it's like, I'll be convinced when, you know, you do what TL tries to do and be, you know, one of the top 5.
All right, so FlyQuest is currently a playoff team. Let's talk a little bit about what they can show us in the remainder of this week and next week to give us some more confidence that this young roster would actually be able to compete and fight from where they will be starting, which is the lower bracket single elimination for them. Any takers on that?
Yeah, so I mean, we looked at the early game stats, and they're pretty atrocious, right? So I think some of this you do need to fix in draft, right? Like you need to draft lane matchups that are going to be more favorable and play toward early game, I think, a little bit more to shore up the fact that maybe you just have laners who are not as seasoned at this level, right? We're not going to call it FlyQuest Academy anymore, but this is a roster that spent the majority of the split in Academy, right? So we've seen some bright spots, like NXI, I think, has been really, really good on picks like Lee Sin, and he's clearly able to facilitate and set up situations where his team can win. So I think what you just need to do is set up the draft such that it's a little bit easier for them to execute.
All right, well, as we talk about draft, we're just about to head into it ourselves. So I'll be very curious to see if some of those strong lanes come through. It does seem so often that we talk about it all beginning from having that priority, especially when you're playing against a player like Blabber, who we know likes to have it as well.
For sure, and I think FlyQuest here hoping a little bit that Cloud9 managed to land tails on perks. Like we talk about like the really bad stats on FlyQuest, and that is really relevant. But Triple's actually up there as one of like the best laning. Yeah, the sample is 7 games, right? But like Triple actually has some of the best laning stats in the LCS across what he's done. FlyQuest as a team do look better. Like they have as many wins with this roster as the entire last roster did across 14 games.
Yo, we in the club right now.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, what is
y'all know this is a party.
Yeah,
Camp Flight's a party here at the LCS.
But yeah, it's like NXI is one of the self-sacrificing players. He's got more games than Lee Sin than every other champion combined in the LCS right now. He's going to be there. He's going to be down 3 camps. He's going to get some ganks off for someone. And, you know, it's going to be with Triple, really likely. Like, that's probably going to be what's happening. I know Kumo generally wants to play lane dominant. The stats aren't backing that up. Like, it's not doing too well. But I'm basically looking at jungle mid, with the jungle being really active in the early game being the primary condition here.
Yeah. One thing I want to see FlyQuest do is either ban the Gwen or have an answer to Gwen, right? This is a pick that Fudge has been so dominant
Most played.
Yeah. Oh, sorry?
It's his most played.
Yeah, it's one of his most played. He's been so dominant on the pick, and there's certain matchups that are really, really difficult to play into Gwen. So I want them to have a plan around this, because to the point about having bad early games, I think if they fall behind against the Gwen, it's going to be really, really difficult to play out.
They first picking it here?
Well, this is pretty big because it's the first time we've seen Jinzhou come.
He's like never let up.
While,
He's
yeah.
93%.
And especially for Blabber, when I was talking about the jungle to lane communication, like in my opinion, he has looked best at that when he's been on this pick. Now, the thing that they're going to end up giving up to FlyQuest is
please.
Okay, I was about to say, there's your answer.
Don't ruin my point. Okay, so they get to get the Viego and the Gwen on their side.
Yeah, and if you're gonna give away maybe the most dangerous jungler in the game, I think this is a pretty good trade in response, especially considering how much flexibility Viego and Gwen gives both FlyQuest in draft, and it denies C9 in the draft. And we already see the Gnar, so we already know what top lane is gonna look like here. So I think now FlyQuest has a lot more options to figure out, okay, what are our strong matchups here?
So they have the LeBlanc for perks rather. I would love, not right now, but maybe once we get through second ban phase, I would love to see some of the LeBlanc counters that I've been seeing over in the LPL come out. Hear me out, Malzahar and Lissandra are both very good, and also the Galio, which I think can work really well with the Kalista as well here. If you look, like LeBlanc is not this infallible blind pick that a lot of people think she is.
Yep.
I would love to see some of those coming out from FlyQuest. I don't know if they'll do it, but it'd be really cool to see.
I want to see it for sure. I mean, I 100% agree on like, if people think you can blind LeBlanc, no. Like, this is almost never true in any case. Like, very few champions are actually blindable. I know Azael was talking about it with like Gwen being blinded and like, hey, just play Jax or Riven or whatever, and teams aren't willing to do it. Malzahar is a completely slottable champion. Like, Malzahar does the kinds of things that you're actually getting out of like a set of Renekton, where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna mid-range stun someone and we're gonna like pile them down. Like, that is what Renekton does in a team fight, basically, is hit a button, land a 2-second stun, and the champion dies. So would love to see that come through, right? I mean, it really is like what you do with that champion, level 11 plus, right? And you still have lane priority because you shove everything. So I think that could really, really fit. I want to see that come through in the draft. So hey, maybe they'll be the smart
We'll
to do it
cross
later
our
on.
fingers.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen, but it should, right? And you know, by Worlds it'll probably show up, you know, and teams will realize, and it's like, hey, remember?
Hey, it's like I said, it's already showing up in LPL.
And that's good, and that means it is going to show up down the line. But it's like, hey, how much did your analysts like prep your teams? How much did your players get the chance to practice it? Did the practice go well as well? By the way, like, you know,
There's your Lissandra ban.
There, yeah.
Very good.
So that's smart.
Love that call out.
Let's go.
Love that call out.
for you, C9.
So sorry, what was the other one though that you
Malzahar.
had?
Malzahar.
Malzahar.
And also Galio as well.
And Galio.
It's slightly different. It's not like super hard lane counter, but
Right.
Galio can stand up to the block.
Right.
The
Yeah.
block.
You end up winning, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of teams will really focus on like but who can control the lane, like who can get the push,
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, we picked LeBlanc because she shoves. Well, who can shove against LeBlanc? Oh, no one. Well, crap, right? And then you're like, oh, I guess it's uncounterable. And then, yeah, I just think it's a different style to win in that way.
Yeah. So going back to FlyQuest and their draft so far, I really like it so far. I think the two bans on Alistair and Braum were really smart here, because what you see that Fly's going for is they want a lot of agency in this draft. So they want to deny things that basically shut down their engage, right? So that's why you want to take away the Braum, you want to take away the Alistair. And Leona is one of the best engage supports in the meta right now. So overall, if we are talking about FlyQuest win conditions, generally speaking, looking for stronger early game and more ability to be proactive, I think this is right in line with what we need to be seeing from them.
Huh.
I mean, you're
Are they gonna
not
do
safe.
the? Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Yeah, we got it!
I can't believe we're all clapping for a Malzahar.
Yes!
I mean,
we won't be
it's
clapping
less.
long, but-
Is it for Malzahar the champion, or is it for intelligent drafting? Right? Because it can be.
For now, it's both, because I'll always be happy to see a champion newly again.
True.
I mean, there was a time when Lee Sin was in literally every game. We're like, oh, it's another Lee Sin game. It's like, hey, it's fun to see Lee Sin for a while.
Right.
It gets, too far into the meta. So both for now, right? But it is intelligent drafting. Happy to see it.
Yeah.
I'm clapping for Emily calling it out and then them doing it. So that's what I'm clapping for.
It's the double whammy.
Yeah.
It's the okay. So let's talk about how this plays out then, because my imagination says that Perks wants to be all over the map. You've got Blabber on a strong jungler, so ideally we are controlling those Scuttle Crabs memes or not. What about the bot lane? Rakan, Tristana versus Leona, Kalista. Who do we expect to have priority, and how does that play out?
If Leona's paying attention, so Rakan is one of the few,
Hopefully the pro
movement
players are
abilities.
paying attention.
Well, here's the thing, though, because we saw, yesterday where it didn't go so well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't we
if
just
you
talk
if
about
you
this
stun
yesterday?
Rakan during his W, just like if you stun Camille during her E, it'll cancel the rest of the move, right? So like Camille will not get the hook shot too. Rakan will not get his knockup. If you stun him, that man's not getting a knockup. So like if you're paying attention, you can full stop everything Rakan does, and then it's Trist 1v2ing. So, but that is Diamond always being in the right place at the right time. Like Zenith Blade's too slow. Like that castivation is going to take too long. You're not going to get the stop. So like, you have to be on top of your AD carry 100% of the time. And that's not permanent. And Leona can never lock down a Trist, because everything she ever does is just rocket jumpable. So neither support should be able to get in, but dives are a thing. Tristana, I'm not sure who is the push.
Go ahead.
I was also going to say we should look at mid jungle here, because although it's great that we have the Malzahar into LeBlanc, that's still a Xin, right? And you're flipping Viego, right? So with Malz sort of auto pushing the lane, it's going to be really, really important that he has as much vision coverage as possible, because I don't expect them to go for that 2v2 pre-6, but I do expect that Viego is going to need to hover around mid and make sure that he's at least tracking the enemy jungler so that Malzahar can do what Malzahar does best in lane.
Again, another quick reminder to everybody at home. You see the clock up on that corner of the screen. That is counting down to the game delay that we are baking into the game itself for competitive integrity, as all of the players are playing in a remote scenario. Trust us, we want to get into game as quickly as you do. Top lane matchup, Gnar versus Gwen. It's not Fudges on the Gwen this time around, but Gnar, I think typically when we think top laners and kind of stable top laners at that, Gnar kind of fits the build. Do we expect much to happen up there, or almost a handshake and put focus elsewhere around the map, maybe that mid jungle?
Yeah, I think ideally, especially if you're FlyQuest, you actually want to focus around more mid and bot, right? Like I don't really think that's if you're devoting resources toward top, now Xin can run over the map, and there's a lot of kill pressure in the other lanes. So personally, I think you just leave the lane alone and more focus on bot side and mid.
I think that's probably the case. That said, I'm expecting Gnar to have lane priority, so like that means he can go down and go fight for the crab, right? That's going to be there, so yes, he probably gets top crab. That said, they're both a little diveable, right? Like if you manage rage well, Mega Gnar gets to dive into Gwen. Gwen's not going to have any damage really dealt to the Gnar, so like that you can maybe finish that kill. Opposite side though, right? If you ever do screw up, Mini Gnar has like the least base health in the game, and conversely, well, we run over, Viego lands the stun, and hey, look, we've killed you back, right? So there can be volatility. Again, I don't expect it, but like the windows exist. The question is like, are they going to path that way expecting windows? Probably not. So that means, well, now unless they want to skip 2 camps, they're not going to be there for the gank. So yeah, they're just going to handshake minions.
Yeah.
I mean, we were applauding the draft, but I just want to kind of bring our conversation full circle to what we were talking about earlier, the steps that FlyQuest needs to take to give us more confidence moving into the postseason picture. Draft was one of those things we called out. We feel like they hit the mark across the board.
I mean, I actually like it. Like I said, I like this draft from FlyQuest a lot. Now it's just a matter of can they, and to both of your points, I think mid jungle is going to be huge here, especially with Blabber on something like the Xin Zhao, which not only is just like an insanely strong pick still, he has a surprising amount of survivability early that it can be very shocking, especially when you're fighting over stuff like Rift Herald or Scuttle Crab. But then additionally, when he has had the best communication, when Blabber specifically has had the best communication with his lanes, it's been on this champion, and they've been able to set waves up for him. And I do think you see that potential coming out of this C9 draft as well.
Well, the clock has hit 0. That means game time. It also means pastry time in Azael. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Josh. I'm still here, still joining Azael as FlyQuest are going to be trying to move in themselves up to, I guess, the last playoff spot at this point. They are definitely in a scrap in the bottom 3 teams as who's going to maybe squeak on through. They are currently ahead of everyone else below them, so the prospects look good. But now you have to play up against Cloud9, who, despite some shakiness in the middle of the season, are still Cloud9. Still very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're obviously trying to ramp up towards playoffs, trying to sort out some of the issues that they have been having. They've been okay in summer is kind of the best I'll give Cloud9.
Seems fair.
Sitting at about a 50-50 record was not what we expected from a team that was so good in spring. They certainly have regressed in a lot of areas, but I do think that since Sven has come back in, there have been some week-over-week improvements. And this is going to be an interesting one. With Inspiration Secondary, I'm expecting it to be Futures Market. When you start the Mana Crystal there, you actually just go straight for a Lost Chapter Rush. And if you get an early Lost Chapter on Malzahar, your mana problems are just kind of gone, right? Because this champion actually can really struggle early. It is a good matchup into LeBlanc, but the early levels can be so terrible on this champion. Like, your spells are fairly expensive. If you get trapped in lane low on mana, you are pretty useless. So this build really does kind of circumvent a lot of that. And he's not even going for the more greedy of sort of a refillable. It's just 3 health potions. So he wants to make sure he does not lose lane early here. But FlyQuest on the bottom side, looking like they're kind of stacking up here, leads me to believe it may be a bit of a late invade.
Oh, yes. 3 in the little brush there. And now the sweep coming through, and here they come. FlyQuest dodging through. I think they spotted Vulcan, but C9 are already ready to answer this.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to go for the red. Like, for sure, if you're still here, you're just going for the red. So they're trying to be a red steal here.
Oh, no, Mal's left.
We'll see. It's 4v4.
All right, now his back tripple's like, wait a second. There's a lot of people there. All right, it's going to be a 50-50 for the red level 1. They got Kalista around, who's not that good. NXI level 2, I think he got the buff. And he's going to get on out of there.
Yeah, just going to be able to start with that red buff. And does he even go for more here? Perks. Oh, the stun.
That Q was really nice from Triple. NXI with the follow-up stun as well. And NXI shreds Perks' health bar.
Well, you just won the jungle matchup early. You just won mid lane for your mid laner as well. So pretty good start. I talked about the terrible early lane for Malzahar, but oh my god.
They found the answer.
Yeah, just have your jungler gank instantly when the LeBlanc's still level 1 and get 2/3 of his health down, and then it's a smooth sailing, hopefully. So good job by FlyQuest. Nice early aggressive start. You kind of had to question, what their plan was when they give over Xin Zhao. Here it is one more time. Really, it just came down to the Smite fight. There's not that much to cover here. The Smite just kind of landing better for NXI. But, I was looking at data when we saw the analyst that's talking about this pick. So over the last 2 patches in the LCS, there was actually 49 bans, only 1 pick. So there's only the second time this has actually been, picked in the LCS that has been almost exclusively just banned out nonstop, because it has such a strong early game. But trying to deal with that a little bit here with this early invade, getting the red buff, and now it's a move from Diamond, sneaking around. He swept out, sees that there's no vision. They're looking to try to punish Perks.
This happens to Perks a lot, I feel like, where teams will just throw people at the mid lane. It's one of the benefits and I guess the downsides of being such a good mid laner and such a well-known player, especially for your ability in lane. But Triple definitely will be happy with the assistance here. Perks going in. Diamond, look at the Xanus play, flashes in, barely gonna miss the follow-up.
Good bait from Triple, though. He steps forward. Oh, look, I'm in distortion range. Maybe you want a W. Perks takes it. Does get a nice little trade, but Diamond is there. It is trade of flashes at the very least. A good flash from Perks. If you don't flash the Zenith Blade there, you're probably just dead. So that is important. Is going to be able to survive. Continues the push here. Diamond now back down to that bottom side. The wave will not be able to be frozen, so Sven will get the early reset off this, which is always nice. He's playing the Tristana into the Kalista. He wants to be scaling, wants to be trying to slow this down as much as possible. And Triple now getting low on mana, so this is where it gets a little bit difficult, where you try to get that good recall. He's just trying to get enough minions so he can get the Lost Chapter with Futures Market. Because he is playing TP, he should have that available. Perkz, of course, playing Teleport himself, so just going to be looking to reset this very likely. If he can get the wave fully in, he's probably pretty happy to take a base anytime.
Oh, Diamond actually getting in there, taking a tower shot.
No flash.
And you don't have any friends. The TP's coming in. Blabber's there as well. No flash, as you mentioned. That's going to be first blood to Cloud9.
Yeah, nicely done. The TP actually does get canceled by Perkz, so I guess he must have got queued by Triple, maybe silenced on it or something, and does get stopped, but not even needed. They get the first blood, and it is onto Blabber, so who cares about that red buff now? He gets to start off with that juicy first blood. The wave going to be slightly pushing towards Perkz here, so he can just walk back, and if neither player TPs, it will be a slow push towards him. Of course, they could just be a TP from Triple. He has the Lost Chapter. And he's going to TP to try to likely force it out of Perkz. We'll see if Perkz still decides to hold on. If he does, we'll lose some minions. And one of the really annoying things about playing against Malzahar is actually how the Voidlings tank up tower shots and make it so you not only have the extra Voidling damage on the tower to take plates very quickly, but also just the regular minions are not getting hit by the tower itself. FlyQuest, though, up towards this top side. 4 members top here. Will be revealed by the Vision Plant, and Blabber and Vulcan are both heading up here. So Fudge should be able to get back to the tower now and be safe to do so.
Perkz is also coming up, though, so this is kind of the mid lane is trading off their timings. Vulcan finds 2 there with the knock-up, but FlyQuest needs to get out of there, and I think they've recognized it. So everyone's going to huddle around the blast plant, and they will get themselves over the wall.
And nicely done. And now Triple has kind of been helped through the early levels. You know, once you get to the Last Chapter, you're pretty much chilling. Like, you have enough mana that honestly you can just kind of auto-push the wave permanently. We can see Diamond here to try to cover. Perkz is going to try to kill off the Voidlings as they spawn to deny that auto-push because you really want to stop the E from bouncing. You know, if Malz gets the E bounce, you actually do get some mana back there. And that makes things a lot easier for him as he stays healthy on mana. But without the teleport, you get low here, and this can be a little bit punishing. Post 6, of course, any sort of aggressive plays LeBlanc wants to look for get really, really difficult, and he's going for it. Oh!
That latch would have killed Triple, but NXI is here, so Perkz could not commit to it. Diamond also here as well. They need to get this wave pushed out, but the rest of Cloud9 are coming in as well.
Yeah, Blabber threatening. I mean, it should just be a base from Triple. Maybe he tries to stay for these couple minions here, but Perkz will have to back it off. No way you can actually dive there. And now Triple should be able to take a reset, but Perkz doing a good job playing aggressively into this. I think you kind of honestly have to as LeBlanc into this matchup. You have got to keep some pressure onto the Malzahar. If you don't kill off Voidlings, you're going to be locked under your tower. You know, you can start to chip down the LeBlanc, and you know, your ultimate post 6, call the jungler over. Any sort of aggressive distortion from LeBlanc can be really punished, especially when you're looking towards team fights as well. You know, you go for that aggressive distort on LeBlanc, you get ulted up. You know, it's your mobility, it's your kind of how slippery you are as LeBlanc that really keeps you safe in team fights, and Malzahar denies that completely. It's also really difficult for Rakan, right? You know, Rakan tries to go for a big engage. He's not playing Aftershock or anything. Again, you're really reliant on the mobility, how slippery you are to really stay alive, and Malzahar just kind of says no to all of that, unless C9 can pile in so many members and kind of push them back so that Malzahar has trouble actually standing and channeling the ultimate.
Yeah, because if, you know, everyone's diving him, not going to win the 1v4, even when you ulted up the best member on Cloud9. NXI, though, starting off the Dragon. FlyQuest continuing to play proactively. This is one of the things I just really like about this team, is that not only are they often, you know, on top of, you know, the meta and a different draft, and I think this Malzahar is kind of a nod to how much work this team and their analysts do to kind of keep the players fresh and up to date, but they will always try and make some sort of early game play. It doesn't always work. FlyQuest have had quite actually a few goal deficits, but their team fighting has made up for it in quite a number of games. Going to be a tough ask versus Cloud9, but even though they are down, you know, 800 gold right now, keeping on top of the objectives, keeping NSI active for the ganks. FlyQuest aren't a team that, no matter the situation, will ever just give you a game. They will always fight you for it.
Absolutely. It is good to see that, right? You know, you want these players, especially young players, to be playing with confidence and to, you know, build on the mistakes that are made. If you try to curb a team's aggression when they make an error on an aggressive play, you just end up having a team that kind of rolls over and dies. It's much better, especially with these young players, to say, all right, play aggressive, trust your calls, trust your ability to actually outplay in these situations, and then adjust and pivot based on what you're learning game over game. And I think FlyQuest has done a pretty good job of that. and have been really fun to watch as a result.
All right, well, Perks is now trying to clear all the little voidlings. Does eat himself a dot there as Triple's going to get the wave pushed in. Blabber trying for this Rift Herald, but NXI right in time to steal this one away. Thanks for the leash. Blabber going to get attacked. Gwen going in. The Herald does get stolen, but it is looking real rough there for Kumo in the top side. Ulti out onto Perks will get the kill, and now the battle for the eye is there. NXI, though, able to get in there and take it because he stole LeBlanc's distortion, and oh goodness, it's getting risky as NXI going to have to get his way out of there. Great silencer out of Triple, finds them both, and Fudge cannot continue as the Voidlings run interference, and FlyQuest find the Herald.
Yeah, FlyQuest just barely able to get out of there with those extra members. It's 1-for-1, but they get the Herald, so it's a positive play for them. Perks put into the no fun zone there for the first time this game. FlyQuest just made a very quick collapse. They had push mid. It was actually C9 that had the push top, but Kumo just abandoned the wave to just come straight over here. The initial play looks like it's going to be pretty good for Cloud9 as Kumo just gets burst down, but here it is. Ult him up. Flash W coming in there from NXI. Perks is locked down 100-0. You can even layer the Q silence over top after the Viego stun comes through. FlyQuest making it happen, but one thing really working for Cloud9 is just the fact that nothing has happened on the bottom side, right? You have Tristana versus Kalista, and it's an even farm lane. So that is just so far in the favor of C9 as far as expected value. Leona is generally considered a counter matchup into the Rakan. Kalista generally dominates like literally every lane. So C9 doing well on the bot side, but FlyQuest has some compositional advantages, you know, especially in mid lane, and have been really making it work.
Yeah, I think the answer to the bottom lane question is like this. Diamond is top lane, still level 5, right? There's not been a lot of 2v2s, but now Fudge going to get himself ignited, and that will force the flash. So Diamond continuing to play aggressive there, which you like to see, but it is kind of giving Sven the freedom that maybe FlyQuest will regret later.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of the give and take, right? If you don't think you can get anything done in the 2v2, then sure, you should roam. But what is the cost of this? They just lost 2 tower plates for a roam. Cool, you forced the flash. Well, Tristana got a kill, essentially, off of the tower in gold, right? And it's going to be a 3rd plate at the very least. They do have the Herald, so they're trying to trade for a top side here. And Fudge will be annoyed, but it'd be able to be walking away here. And so it's going to be a full tower top. But honestly, for Cloud9, like this isn't bad at all because Tristana is getting all this as solo gold, right? Which is such an important thing. This is going to be split among multiple members. Tristana will get all of the gold for herself, and likely at least be able to take a 4th plate. I'm not sure that they will be able to get the 5th here, as it does get very tanky the lower it gets.
ROI feels pretty good there for C9, right? It's been invested like some time, and he'll take this, yeah. And, you know, FlyQuest had to get the Herald that they fought for, and they traded kills, and they spent more time, and Sven's just like
now
chilling.
here.
Yeah, Blabber, Kumo looking a little bit juicy as the target. Perks still defending mid as Kumo looking a little bit low there. Volking going to try and finish him off. Ignite should be enough, and indeed it will be. Diamond now caught out as well. Does have his ulti, but still no flash after the top play, and Cloud9 collect 2.
All right, well, now it's just actually awful for FlyQuest because not only did you get the full tower onto your Tristana, he even got to push in the wave to the tier 2 tower. Like, he's so far ahead now of where Tomo is. He got additional farm, got additional experience, got so much gold there. Perks buys the early QSS. Not something you want to do, but something you pretty much have to do against Malzahar plus Leona. And I think it is really smart. Often players just delay the QSS way too much. They want to complete their mythic. And you can get 3-4 kills on them just by rinse and repeat the ultimate on cooldown. So Perks already got 1 early usage of it, saves himself from that ulti. Of course, Malzahar's ulti can get down to a very low cooldown and be up more often than the QSS, but it's still critical. They get kills on the top side. They get Sven going on the bot side, and Cloud9 are out to a nearly 2,000 gold lead as a result. So here it is one more time. Just an easy QSS, then back up to this top side. You know, Kumo very, very low here. Vulcan in with the easy ignite to finish that one off. And Diamond, who had no flash, there's no way out for him, so he gets taken down as well. Cloud9 even grabbing a dragon, so the game looking better and better for them.
Yeah, almost 2,000 gold ahead with a lot of that going to both Blabber and Sven. Sven, just thanks to his alone time in the bottom side, getting that tower for himself, has the Kraken Slayer done. And the gold drink gets finished for Blabber, who's gotten almost all the kills that Cloud9 had picked up in this early game.
Yeah, kind of hoovering them up. You know, hasn't always been like a part of the full kill. He's just kind of there, pokes him with a spear one time, says, thank you very much. Can always work out. Another QSS coming in. So, I mean, this is the Malzahar attacks, right? And there is power in this. The fact that you actually have forced these guys to kind of take a detour already, those are the two key members that I pointed out in Vulcan here as well as Perks. They're very vulnerable to that Malzahar ulti. You really do need a QSS to actually play against this. The other champions, I think it's less of a concern because you can be a little bit more tanky and you can have these guys pile in and then actually interrupt the Malzahar ultimate if he goes for it on you.
Sven, again, great buffer there. Diamond there with a follow-up. We'll get the flash out of the deal. And now Vulcan going back in, but it's got no follow-up. Vulcan ulting out. Kumo pops the W and actually will be able to walk away. Fate's called back in. Diamond feeling so aggressive today, but that ulti did nothing to Blabber with his ulti up. And now Blabber's going to flash back in. Tripple's going to have to flash out, and Blabber is just wreaking havoc in the front line, but he's getting low. The exhaust out of Tomo looking real good as Sven will bust the shot FlyQuest away, but NXI diving back in as Xin now as he possessed the soul of Blabber and Perks. His Mimic will die, but it's only one lost for Cloud9.
Yeah, big shutdown though. They're able to get that Triple and Diamond limp out with such low health, but critically they do survive. And you can see that Xin Malzahar interaction. If Xin has his ultimate up, your ultimate doesn't hurt him. You're outside of the circle. You don't actually do anything to him. C9 trying to get something else on the back end of this. Triple has no sums.
Oh, goodbye, Triple. Easy setup there, and the kill goes to Perks, who does collect it.
Nicely done. Getting some tower damage down as well. Cloud9 staying proactive, staying aggressive here. The Mythics, though, coming through now on the FlyQuest side, so that's going to give them a pretty big injection of power. Basically, everyone has it now. The nice buffer from Sven, but the follow-up ultimate does force the flash. Vulcan is here, though. Perks is here. You can see Blabber is coming up as well. So Cloud9 are down to fight. And the initial fight actually looks so good for them. When I saw Diamond go back in, I thought this fight was actually going to go so bad for FlyQuest, but Tomo is untouched. NXI actually got a lot done. Triple's able to survive the initial play, the exhaust shutting down Blabber completely. They didn't get that kill on the Malzahar, so the Tristana reset did not come through immediately. And then it's just FlyQuest kind of piling through, forcing out summoners here, getting that one kill for themselves.
Like we said, good or bad, FlyQuest will fight you.
Yeah.
And that one looking not too bad for either side there. Cloud9 will still hold the lead up about 1,500 gold, but staying proactive. 3v1 now for Fudge in the bottom side of the map as Kumo looks to cut down this tower. NXI also looking for some Krug gold. Will collect it. And Perks on the other side just answering Cloud9. Happy to play actively here and use their side laners here to trade as Tomo so aggressive on this Kalista.
Yeah, absolutely. Wants to be playing. Knows he's in that powerful spot right now. Tomo pushing pretty far up. You can see that it is really weak side that Fudge is actually playing on. You know, when you look at the bot jungle, when you look at the vision in this, it's all FlyQuest in that whole quadrant. And that is why Fudge very intelligently is just backing it up. He knows that Perks is on the tower top. No one's answering there, so you can kind of intuit that FlyQuest is moving down to make a move towards you. And going to be able to trade back with that gold from Perks. And it's actually another QSS, so triple QSS.
Ooh, Perks used his. I think they saw that, but maybe some time for Triple to get the ulti ready. Rift Herald, though, is going to knock down this mid tower. Cloud9 continuing to find gold for themselves here, and FlyQuest just going to have to finish off the Herald and make sure the tier 2 doesn't get sieged, but Tomo is awfully low. That shield blow getting procced feels pretty bad.
And look at the inside track they have towards the bottom lane. You can just move straight over through there towards the pushing lane here from Fudge, already shoving it up, denying farm. Cloud9 playing these side lanes well, and I mean it's showing very clearly as far as the farm, right? You just look at all of these farming members here on Cloud9, you compare them to the ones over on the side of the FlyQuest, and it's CS advantages across the board because Cloud9 are more comfortable playing the map, more comfortable establishing vision, and they also, let's be honest, just kind of have champions that are more suited to play in a side lane. Malzahar is great wave clearing out a tower, but it's actually pretty dangerous to be out in an extended side lane where you can get chased down because you have no sort of dash, you have no real escapes. You're really dependent upon your team to keep you safe.
And now Triple just left alone. This tower's actually going to die here. Cloud9 stay out on the map for the extended play and do knock down another tower for themselves. So that gold lead increasing ever more, almost up to 4,000 now for C9 as they'll fall back to this dragon. But FlyQuest are waiting for this retreat.
And they're potentially going to flank here. They are spotted out. Perks looking aggressive.
Kumo already popped the W though, so now Cloud9 might fancy the re-engage. Fudge is here as well. Perks actually looking for the chain angle, but the blast plant does keep FlyQuest safe. But now it's Cloud9 that find themselves outside the dragon.
And Perks is still in the hunt. He's behind FlyQuest. He's got to be a bit careful here though.
Again, just poking around, being a nuisance. Very familiar LeBlanc play there. As Perk's even going to go for it again. Once again, back over the wall, just pokes down Kumo, and Cloud9 not letting him in here, but Vulcan finds two with the charm. Cloud9 going to start the fight, but NXI ulti's out of there. Fudge in the front side, taking a little bit too much damage. Kumo actually managed to take out Fudge, but Blabber finds the double kill. And now Diamond and Tomo are going to be the ones to chase next. Kumo out of there, Diamond dead, and Tomo forced to run with no support at all, as Sven will find the rocket jump and Perks will find the kill.
Huge fight there for Cloud9. Such a risky play to go for FlyQuest to try to actually force through the corridor there with Mega Gnar available. They did it basically the only way they could, which was hard committing killing off Fudge before he could get the Mega Gnar off. Because if you're going to funnel through his 4 members and you don't kill him off, you will get erased. So the initial thought on the play, I think, is pretty well done. The Malzahar ulti here onto Fudge. They have a silence in a Malzahar ult. They stun him up. They knock him up. He's burst down. You know, pretty much gets erased, but the problem is you're committing onto this very tanky member. You do take him down, but what else is happening in the fight? And Blabber, Perks, Sven are all free firing as a result of this. So despite the fact they committed to taking down Fudge and were able to do it to gain entrance to the pit, it just cost them way too much. All of your cooldowns are spent, all of your damage is spent on this guy that's in Mega Gnar that is fairly tanky. And it just did not work out there for FlyQuest, and Cloud9 now massive lead as a result.
Yeah, 5k up, and unfortunately Triple's running out of targets. We've already seen that Xin can be tough when his ulti's up. We saw the Fudge is probably not the best target. And I have bad news. There are 3 QSSs now finished on Cloud9 side, so Triple is basically out of good targets whenever their cooldowns are up.
And that's why Malzahar honestly really sucks from behind. Like when you're playing from an advantage, and it's like, you had to spend 1,300 gold here, and now you have no damage, and you're sucking, and there's all these people that couldn't afford the QSS, so, you know, there's lots of great targets to choose from. When you start to fall behind, everyone has the luxury money, basically, to buy this QSS, and their damage profile is not even put behind. Like, when you compare the items, they're very equivalent to what their opponents actually have, so they kind of have their cake and eat it too. And it does become very, very difficult for Triple. At that point, you're hoping that Diamond can maybe force out a QSS and you can ult a carry who doesn't have that available. Or you just have to ult a frontliner and hope that you can win front to back. But honestly, I don't think that you win front to back against this sort of a composition when Sven is actually this strong.
I think maybe with a different AD, you could think about it, right?
Maybe,
but Kalista not the best tank shredder. And even though Malzahar does do a lot of damage, right?
You do.
Especially to even high health targets, it's not enough to take down Fudge right now as Cloud9 looking to keep padding this lead up 5k as Fudge is back down to the bottom side of the map, feeling pretty good about his life.
Yeah, Fudge has been doing a good job playing weak side, just kind of playing safely, not giving up any deaths. The only one he had was, of course, at that Dragon fight, but it was in a big team fight victory. Item coming through, though, and one hope here for FlyQuest is definitely Kumo and his pressure in the side lane. He has the Nashers. Gwen scales incredibly well in the 1v1. The ability to chase down Mega Gnar, chase down Gnar in the side lane is definitely there. But we'll see if they'll be able to actually set up the situation in which it could happen. Malzahar just has to be protected. Everyone from FlyQuest is kind of up here, clearing out vision, trying to give Triple a lane to farm, because they know they can't just ignore LeBlanc in the side lanes, and really they don't have anyone else to answer it.
Perks getting wild, just checking every corner. But now going to be jumped on, but Perks just throws out a chain. Plenty of cooldowns left, not worried at all.
Yeah, just really doesn't care. And the farm advantages are just getting bigger, right? It's 40 CS plus in the mid lane. It's 40 plus CS in the bot lane. That is just such a problem for FlyQuest, because although they drafted, I think Malzahar is great in the individual matchup, they just don't seem to be able to actually match the lane assignments here, and that is kind of the problem. They wanted to force 5v5 as a result, because they know they're kind of getting blood out of this game, but C9 had an answer for that too, and I think it was a pretty smart pick, but honestly, it's just been handled so incredibly well by Cloud9. Early investment in QSSs, playing around it, constantly poking off the spell shield, forcing Malzahar into side lanes where he's not comfortable.
All right, well, FlyQuest again going to keep trying, but Perks just so slippery. Going to take out that Sentinel. Oh, he even goes back for the chain on Diamond. Gets the poke down, so cheeky. Hit a lot of long-range chains this game so far as well. This is obviously a champion Perks is very well versed in. And Cloud9 now just invading the enemy red side.
Triple.
NXI not in a good spot there with the Krugs. Knocked up by Vulcan, charmed around, and Vulcan even going to attack Triple for the second. NXI is low, but not dead yet, as Diamond will save him. But Triple's going to find the ulti, CC chain on, but Blabber just pops the ulti and takes out Diamond.
Yeah, going to be able to survive there. The Sterix pops. And FlyQuest are falling apart a little bit there. I mean, Triple knew that Perks and members were in that area. You could see them clearing out the vision. But I mean, he was so far up. He was up here killing minions while Cloud9 are walking through his jungle there. And that is just one of those situations where, to me, that reads like frustration. That reads like you have not gotten what you want to get done.
All right, FlyQuest TPing back in. TP back in for Fudge as well, trying to keep them out of the Baron pit. NXI pretty swift on the smite, but going to need to be real good on this one as FlyQuest are getting themselves poked out by Perks around the back of the pit. Fudge is going to keep them out of the way. NXI's going in. He's going to try and find the steal. Amazing buster shot by Sven, though, is going to shut that down. Blabber will smite that, and now Fudge is just going to 1v2 the enemy carries because Triple and Tomo have got no health left, and Perks going to effortlessly win the 2v2 for Cloud9. Kuma also getting chased down and should not be able to escape here. Q there's almost enough, actually, but waiting a little bit more on cooldowns. All right, Kuma will escape over the back of the Dragon Pit for now. Sven insta-flash rocket jumps over to finish him off, though.
Yeah, that's the rage chase. You're not getting out of there. You're mine, sucker. Takes them down. They get the Baron. They get the kills. This is Cloud9's game. Full control at this point. Playing it out really well through the side lanes, limiting the options. And honestly, it came back more to the previous play than this one, more to the actual Baron take. It's the work they got done with those kills earlier on. Cloud9, though, 3 men in the pit. Fudge as well as Perks just doing a great job actually zoning out. And really all they had to worry about was NXI getting into the pit. They're clearing out his ward, so they know he has to commit at some point without necessarily having full information. He flashes in, immediate buster shot out, and notice the Baron was never in smite range for him. Even when he went in, it was still up around 1,100 health there. So they knock him out, they kill him, they secure the Baron, and Perks here again just pushing aggressively. And with Fudge piling in, it's like, who cares that Malzahar is going to ult you there? You're just going to QSS, you're going to keep pushing forward. He doesn't actually have the time to stand and plant and just get that damage out.
Yep, and now Perks has paid off. You know, the initial investment of the QSS has turned into a death cap alongside his Luden, so he's feeling real good right now. It's been tanking the tower with flashing the Teemo thumbs up. Just knocking down these towers with the Red Bull Baron buff.
I mean, the explosive shot took about half of Triple's health off of him because he was a little bit too close there. They've just got really no chance of defending this. I mean, Cloud9 have such strong engage, the ability for LeBlanc to get aggressive and actually zone here. And I mean, the poke from LeBlanc turns into just 100-0 when you have death cap.
Blabber popping. Is that a QSS? I think he does have one. Does have his ulti up as well, though. So again, Blabber can kind of do whatever he wants. But C9 is looking to put the last few touches on this game as Tomo's popped the Fate's Gold. Diamond again is going to be leapt in. Big flank out of Kumo. Will it be enough, though? Cloud9 looking to dive back in. And Kumo is like zoned off. He's trying to cut the wave. That TP was for the minions, not even for Cloud9. Triple, though, taken out by Sven. Tomo in trouble, gets killed by the Trist. Fudge solo kills out Kumo. And FlyQuest in a 2v5 to try and keep their necks alive. And I got bad news for the FlyQuest fans. It ain't happening. It's C9. They're going to take down this game nice and easy.
16-3, 27 minutes. A strong start, a strong early game plan from FlyQuest, but Cloud9 had the answers. Perks played very well in the matchup against the Malzahar, died once to the ulti, got the early QSS, never died to it again. They played the side lanes better. They had better champions for the side lanes. Fudge respected all the pressure on the weak side. Honestly, this was just really well done here by Cloud9 across the board. And, you know, even when FlyQuest got the Rift Herald, they ended up actually losing out more on the play because they overcommitted to the top side. And Sven just got the tower by himself on bot. So despite the fact that they got free tower, it was like, well, your Kliss is behind the Tristana. LeBlanc played side lane better than Malzahar. Fudge is not actually crumbling to any of the pressure we're putting on him. And Cloud9 just played a really, really strong game. Vulcan was where he needed to be at the right times. Blabber was where he needed to be at the right times. Picked up a lot of the early kills. And, you know, it just got to this point where Cloud9 were kind of just running over him. And this was honestly a really impressive game from them.
Yep, super stable game from C9, which I think is what we want to see as they head into playoffs and try and get into form. Player of this game, though, is going to be Blabber for securing quite a number of kills there. 5-1 and 5. I think the first 5 came in like 15 minutes? Like, he stole a lot in the early game there.
Yeah, he had a good early game. I would also put Perks fourth. I think Perks had a great game, and how aggressively and how annoying he was actually playing.
Yeah.
You know, denying vision, always poking and prodding. He was kind of like that battle ward for Cloud9, and I think he played a great game too.
All right, with that, we do have a bit of business to take care of here on the desk. The LCS does want to encourage anyone that is able to pretty please get a COVID-19 vaccine. If you're in the States, it is free and available through those resources there on your screen. More vaccines means we can keep one another safe, get back to LAN, and the things we love, which is casting video games in person with an audience. So while we check out those resources, we're going to head into a break. But when we return, it's the Tigers and Perks in the Verizon post-game interview. We'll see you there. Well, not...
Welcome back to the LCS. We are here with the Verizon post-game interview to catch up with mid laner Perks after that Cloud9 victory. Well, FlyQuest brought out the Malzahar as a counter to LeBlanc. Can you tell me about that matchup?
I mean, it's like it used to be like kind of like a counter pick where you like nullify what, or like you try to stop what she's doing, kind of. But I don't think that's such a big counter. It's a bit annoying, like at level 6, I guess. Level 6, like level 9 until LeBlanc gets QSS. Then it's actually just like Malzahar is kind of useless for the rest of the game, I would say. So yeah, I would not speak it myself.
Yeah, saw you pick up that QSS. Cloud9 looking very clean throughout the rest of the game. Also looking good in the victory against 100 Thieves last week. Obviously, there was a bit of a lull for the squad in the middle of this regular season. How would you evaluate the team's performance now compared to just a few weeks ago?
I mean, we've been like struggling a lot this split, or we had a lot of like problems with that consistency. I think it's like it could be used as an excuse, but a lot of it could come from like the many different styles and champions we were trying to play. I think now that it's coming to playoffs, we are all kind of figuring out what we're like our champion pools and what we're good at and how the team goes work together. Like we just kind of realize we're not good enough yet to like play every single comp and just play well. So that's like a harsh reality, but I think that now that we acknowledge our strengths and weaknesses, we are again coming back to form, also coming to playoffs. I think we have a lot of power picks right now that are just super strong for our team. I think in many of these picks, we are actually unmatched in NA. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable right now using the top power picks in the meta to dominate America.
Aside from getting comfortable on these powerful picks and getting yourselves prepped for playoffs, one thing that was discussed by several of your teammates as needing some work was the fact that there's a lot going on in game when it came to communication, different ways of thinking about the game and trying to get on the same page. In that specific regard, communication, what do you feel has been improved, if anything, on that front?
I mean, we are all just working on how we want to communicate with each other. I think that's our main... how is it called? It should be a main factor in the team. Like, how do you communicate? And by what you communicate, how much does your teammate know with what you're saying? Sometimes you can say 2 words, but you can actually write 5 sentences from those 2 words, like knowing a whole set play from using 2 words. And just in general, getting like the playbooks down, I guess, like the set plays that we're just learning together as a team. Relearning and like some we are just relearning, right, as well. So it's all about like the the grind, and refreshing. League is a very fundamental based game. So as long as your fundamentals are very good, you are just going to be a very strong team. And then after that, you have to think about like the plays outside of the box. So we are working on our fundamentals, and then we can work on something more.
Well, whether inside the box or outside the box, Perkz Cloud9 fans are happy to see these W's coming through. Thank you so much for stopping on by.
Thank you for having me.
As always, we do have more LCS to come. We're going to kick it to a break, but on the other side, we will be getting you ready for our next matchup. We will see you there.
It's never been easier to stay in touch, so we never miss the chance to show how much we care. And thanks to all of you who used your MasterCard to order online or tap in store at restaurants and grocery stores, MasterCard is donating $5 million to Stand Up to Cancer. Together is how we help start something priceless.